Welcome one, welcome all. It is time for the NASCAR show, and we got Sonoma. That will be the one that we're talking about today. We had a great race yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, stats, but Zilish holding back SVG there over the last stage. That was actually incredible racing, and hopefully we can see something like that today. I just don't know if anyone can get close enough to SVG, especially at a track like Sonoma, where there's not a ton of cautions. But Stats, how are you doing today, man?
Doing well. I missed last night's race. I had a dinner. Buddy was in town, so I was out to dinner. But I was watching the updates, and a little surprised SVG didn't win. From what I understand, maybe things are a little different if they're not teammates there last night. Maybe SVG raced them a little bit differently. But I did not get to see that final. I was surprised not seeing SVG at the top. I wound up all in on SVG, did a full shove there. So, but yeah, no. And then one other thing.
The winner of the Xfinity did not have Zilish. It had SVG, the optimal. Or not the optimal, because it wasn't the optimal. But you could have won 20K solo if you just put Zilish in over SVG there.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I assumed when I was looking at it at dinner and watching the updates. But one thing that I think we have to mention before we even get into it is, as well as you and I may be doing right now this morning, we have one of our subs. Did you see what one of our guys did in baseball?
I did not.
All right. Well, we turned like Freddie in our Discord turned like a $300 investment into about 64,000 last night.
Wow.
On or yesterday afternoon in the in MLB. So he was using the Boomer. He uses the Tournament Edge. He said he likes to find the best stacks using Tournament Edge on the Boom Report, and he threw a single bullet in the I guess it's the relay for 50K. And on top of winning all his single entry stuff, he also hit the 50K by quite a big margin with his single bullet. So gives a lot of hope out there to you guys who like to play one lineup and throw it in the lotto and see what happens. That was a really nice hit. So happy to see that.
Yeah, no kidding. Imagine being in the single entry contest of the guy who wins the the entire $18. That's got to be daunting. A 224.05 score, and you're right. He won the $18 50K to first. He won the 250 222 man field, 10K to first, then the $25, and then the base hit and stuff. Wow, 63.6K. Oh my god.
Pretty low owned if you look at the team that he put out there. Fairly low owned, which is what the Tournament Edge is going to give you. It's going to try to find some lower owned stacks or players that have the upside potential, and so that's why he won by a pretty decent margin with with just one entry in the big relay. So that was impressive. I love seeing it because I put that report out every day. So when people win, it makes me feel a lot better about doing the work every day. So that's a really nice score. So I'm happy to see it. Proud of him.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you do the Boom Report every single slate. So it's not just like an isolated thing Monday through Friday. It's for every slate here. And you'll have it up for the slate that probably starts here in an hour or two.
Yes.
Good time. So, all right. Stats. It is time to get into Sonoma a little bit. And if you're wondering, if you're watching here, it might be a slightly quick show. We got a bunch of slates to get to later on in other sports as well. But Stats, this is a race where we have a ton of history at, right? Especially in the next gen car. We know who runs really well here. We know who doesn't run so well here. And it becomes a track where if you saw the qualifying, you're like, well, damn, everyone who does well here is at the top, right? And I think this kind of goes into a slight question because last week, I fell on my face with that SVG fade, right? And I almost had to reimagine how I score SVG fastest lap points on a road course because he gets almost half the fastest laps during any green flag stint. And to me, that maybe I have him under projected by 5 or 6 points. And then when the math doesn't check out, when your math is wrong, it's not going to hit. But that was a big reason why he was able to score so high. But also, there was so much PD in that race, right? And that's why I was like wanting to fade is that, look, if two of these three PD guys end up kind of doing well, I don't think he's going to have a chance to be out. Well, two of the three PD guys don't even make it like 50 laps, like Byron, for example. And then we had the huge wreck with Hocevar in the mix too. It's like last week I was very, dead set on fading SVG. This week it's not going to be the same because I think he has more upside than anyone because of the starting positions. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, last week, as far as SVG goes, as far as the bets, let's say to win, I thought I wanted to fade him in the betting market at least. And man, I thought I had two guys who really probably had the best shot to get him. And we should have had a caution there late, which may have changed things with Cody Ware there. But and then you get that pile up early on in that race. I don't know if it was about 6 cars get wiped out. It threw a lot of things. There was a lot of oddities last week. Like you said, we had extreme chalk, probably the most, like they were like whatever it was, 4 cars that were, or 4 drivers that were like 50% ish owned. And then you had a bunch of drivers at that sub 20%. And when those big chalky guys went out early, you've got, it totally changed the way that race, at least we thought that race was going to go. But, sometimes that happens. And we wound up getting, you get some of these, you had some scrubs who got to move up. Catherine Legg, she finished with a top 20, I believe, last week. Someone asked about it in the chat. Wasn't my favorite play, but we had the carnage that we really didn't expect. Now going into this week, there's a much less chance of getting that of having the carnage. That was a street race. This is more. This is a road course. The drivers are a little bit more familiar, or a lot more familiar with this track than they were in Chicago. So these guys have raced here many times. I think we'll see it different. We won't see. I don't think we saw any cautions from what I heard last night. Any incident cautions in Xfinity, and I would imagine we're going to have just very few cautions here this week or today with the Cup cars. So I would be leery about really rostering too many of these real scrub drivers. I don't think we're going to see the same thing where they just by attrition they move up. So this is going to be a little bit different race. Now, when it comes to SVG, look, the odds are insane. I mean, down in DraftKings, he's close to even money, which, if you guys have been following NASCAR for any length of time, putting bets in, nobody's that has that kind of price for NASCAR. So the betting markets certainly favor SVG. But I would say because of the history these drivers have here, I think he's got a better chance of being upset here than he did last week. So I think in the bet, I didn't put my bets out yet. I'm going to try to, I'm not betting SVG. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not taking even money or plus 120 or 125 at some of these books. I'm not doing that in a NASCAR event when anything can happen. You get some mechanical issues, tires, whatever. Although tires, by the way, some of these guys usually doesn't matter much here. I'm hearing there's a little bit more tire wear. I think Busher spoke on it. And so that could come into play as well this week. So there's always a lot of factors. Can't play an even money driver, that's for sure, in the bet. So we'll see what I come up with for our bets today over in our Discord at Run Pure Sports. But I do think there is potential to see maybe SVG not win this one this week.
Yeah, I kind of want to believe that too, Stats. I'm actually going to be pretty heavy on SVG this week because of the upside. And just the fact that if it does run green, right, and he's first at the end of the stage 2, it's like, what would you have him then? Minus 200, minus 250.
Oh, yeah. No,
and
yeah.
That's the worry for me is once he gets to the final restart and he's in the top 2, you got to take him. And it's promising that Zilish was able to kind of hold him off. And there are guys who are capable of that in the Cup, right? You had Kyle Larson won here last year. You have Chase Elliott, you have Tyler Reddick, who, guys who can keep up with him. Michael McDowell, even in Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell really couldn't keep up with him in Mexico. But you have guys who should be able to keep up with him. And it's a much better place for these guys who have tons of experience here, where SVG does not have a ton of experience here, right? That's the main difference is in Mexico on an even playing field, SVG whooped their ass by over 20 seconds or 17 seconds or so, right? But Chicago, a limited one where it just talent reigns supreme. Here, they might have the edge of just experience, knowing which lines are on, where they can pass at. Not that SVG doesn't know where to do that at, but they might know it a little bit better than Chicago or Mexico and stuff. So I'm kind of with you. It just I got my ass whooped last week, man. It's still sore stats. That's all I got to say.
Listen, I hear you. It was a gutsy call, But the other thing we didn't talk about is, his price is now at a point where 12.5. That could be, that could be the reason that maybe he doesn't find his way into the winner. So I don't know where I think his ownership will probably be a little inflated just because of what he did last week. Doesn't mean he's necessarily not going to get there again. But where do you think the ownership comes in here on an SVG?
Yeah, this is a good question. All right, it's a great question. And then someone puts into the chat, can't beat 50,000 other SVG lineups, have to fade and be okay with losing. I do think he is going to be 65%. Starting on pole, I think it gets really high up there because he was really high last week and there was way more PD plays. And that's why I faded, right? And I already mentioned that, kind of talking about, but I don't have a reason to fade this week that is just like statistically other than I think he might lose. Last week it was I think he can win and not be optimal, right? And that's where I'm coming back to is like, well, I think 65% is a pretty good number.
I think, I think you're close. I was thinking 60% in my head, so we'll see. The big chalky plays seem to go a little higher typically than you anticipate because obviously momentum builds. Everyone watches. They watch our show. They're doing their research, and everyone's on the same guy. And so we get inflated ownership on occasion. We'll see if that happens. We don't have the situation, like you said, we just don't have what we had last week where you had these guys in the back for place differential that looked like absolute locks and didn't get there. So I think it'll be a little bit different this week as far as, we're going to have ownership spread out a bit, which I like a lot better. And we'll see. So this will be interesting. It'll be an interesting race. Again, I'm hoping SVG doesn't just dominate because as much as I like watching him race, it is fun when you get a pretty tight finish. And if something does happen to SVG early, then this thing opens up tremendously. So that would be interesting. And it's NASCAR. I say it every week. There is absolutely no lock in NASCAR because you're not just dealing with the human being, you're dealing with a machine, and you're dealing with other guys on the track bumping and hitting and who knows what can happen to you. So I'm looking forward to it.
Sounds good. Let's get to these other studs here. We got a bunch of guys at the top that I kind of want to play, right? Like, if you're not playing SVG, well, Larson's got to catch your eye. Starting 11th, place differential can be a factor for just scoring because, again, not a whole lot of down points. If you get 50, that's kind of the marker for optimal. And some of these guys have the path to 50. Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Michael McDowell, Christopher Bell slightly, and then guys who can kind of contend for the race and show them that they can contend here. Tyler Reddick. I still like Ty Gibbs. I'm just going to keep kind of rifling that until until it pays dirt because I feel like he's going to have a chance, on any road course to kind of get the job done. Only guys in the stud range that I'm not interested. Only guy I am not interested in is William Byron. This is because I don't love any of the values too much at all. And so like when I'm kind of mixing and matching lineups right here, especially in single entry, it's like kind of want three of these guys above 9K because I feel really confident in Larson. I feel really confident in a Chase Elliott. Slightly less confident, but still confident in Michael McDowell. Like I feel that way. And then when I get down to like the 6K range, like Cole Custer, Eric Jones, like the fall off is real. But if you are playing three of those guys, and then you look in the mid range stats, same story. I don't really love any of the mid range guys. So the only guys that I really like on the slate are in the stud range, guys who have ran really well here in the past, guys who have done well on road courses. Is it wrong for me to want three of these guys here? And does that make the case against SVG where if you do want three of these guys, one of them can't be SVG at 12.5 because that's way too high of a tag, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. So and with some of these guys, where they're starting, they're probably going to have to get rid of it, SVG at the top as well. So, I agree with you I agree with you on Byron here. Byron starting third. This is his worst. This is his worst track of the road. Like, good road course driver, but at Sonoma next gen, he's been really not very good at all. So he's had twice here since 21. He's finished outside the top 30 and just one top 10. So with that third starting spot, I think I agree with you on all these guys 10K and above. I think Byron is the least favorite of that group. I think Reddick, if you look at his past, pretty good here. In 2025, he's got a great rating for driver rating on road courses. Has not been as good as Kyle Larson. Few have. Kyle Larson has 2 wins in the last 4 years at this track. So he is he's the best, probably one of the best as far as driver ratings go. Certainly results wise, he's been the best driver over the last few years here. So I could see if you're going to take 2 guys above this 10K range, I think you almost have to. I think it winds up being just the 2 guys that you mentioned. I think it's Larson and Reddick if you're going to go that route. And you're going to be, with Reddick, I don't know how much ownership he's going to have here. I don't know where Sabres got him at, but if you do go that route, it's definitely going to be different. And just getting off of SVG, as one of our listeners here or viewers was mentioning, kind of fading 50,000 lineups if you fade SVG and get ahead of a ton of lineups if of course he doesn't make it to the winner. So I think if you're going to do that, if you're going to go with that strategy, I agree with you. I would stick with Larson and Reddick up there.
Yeah, and it kind of comes to the point too where SVG obviously being 12-5, it does kind of create like a little bit of a difference here. And I'm trying to hand build a lineup right now, and it gets tight, right? Like it just gets tight, and unless you're willing to play multiple guys in the mid range and multiple guys in the value and only have 2 studs, like that's where you kind of get squeezed out on SVG. Is not because you don't think he's going to win the race, but also because it's like, man, I don't really like having to pair him with like a Ryan Preece or a Riley Herbst, right? Like it doesn't feel comfortable. And if you're kind of going with a Larson, with a Reddick or so, you do save 2K in salary, and that Ryan Preece can become AJ Allmendinger or Chris Buescher, right? Like that's the big difference here. That 2K salary does matter a ton. Talk to me about the under 10K guys: Chase Elliott, Gibbs, McDowell, Bell, all decent plays. Who's your favorite of the bunch?
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys are pretty decent plays. I mean, when we get to, you've got 4 guys here in that 9K range. I think, Chase Elliott, you look at him, really strong at Sonoma in the next gen cars, one of the higher. He's got a very similar rating to Kyle Larson, to give you an idea. His track history, he has not finished outside of the top 10 with 3 top 5 finishes since 2021. So really strong. I think Elliott, he might be my favorite here, starting 13th of this group of 4, with McDowell being, I think, really close to that. McDowell starts 15th. I think both of these guys will be pretty similar ownership. If you look at his driver rating at Sonoma in the next gen cars, it's actually better than Elliott and Kyle Larson. So I think McDowell will be fairly strong. McDowell was, I thought McDowell looked pretty good last week, had a shot. So these are the races, these guys, these are the races these guys have to win, guys like McDowell. By the way, we should mention, I think that it starts to come in play here. You got to look at the playoff standings and get an idea of who's going for points and who's going to be playing optimal strategy. So these guys who have won already, they're going to just try to win the race. So they're going to be playing optimal win type strategies. The guys on the bubble, they need those stage points. So they're going to sacrifice perhaps winning and kind of try and pick up stage points, stay out there at the end of these stages just to get the points to move themselves up. So top 16 make it into the playoffs. So take a look at the playoff standings and get an idea of these guys who are on the bubble. Do they go all out here to win the race? So I think a lot of these guys are going to play that strategy, not necessarily trying to win. So I think that's something to keep in mind. And I think Ty Gibbs perhaps is in that camp. He's on the bubble. Where is he? I think 17th or he's 19th. So, and he's 19th. He's 20. What is he? 20 points out. I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Does he play that strategy, or is he going out to try to win? I mean, Ty Gibbs, we like him on these type of tracks. I think he looks good, but that would be that'd be my one concern. Start 6, so obviously another guy who's going to have a really, really strong finish, get up to the front. Does he go on an alternative strategy and just try to pick up some points? Oh, I think you're muted there.
That's what I'm wondering here. If you look at it like 19th through, God, if you go down to like 25th, it is so tight. Like it is really kind of you can separate him from 16 points there. Hell, if you go up to Cindric, Jones, and then Dinger, I mean, he's 23 points behind 16th, right? Or 20 points behind 16th. But he's also, 16 points ahead of 25th. So it's a really tight pack here. I think your best bet in any case here, and you go for points or you're not, right? Like you win a race, you're in. I always feel like if you're going to have a great chance to win a race, you can do that here. I know that short pitting the stages is the main thing. Like, oh yeah, and that's why I hate this too, is that you're not talking about who's going to win the race, right? And is he going to go for stage points when the goal should always be, I hope he goes for the race win, because that's the only thing that should matter. But I think I don't know. It's all up to them. I mean, they can do the math much better than we can. If you don't short pit 2 stages in a row, you pick up 20 points, you finish 20th, and all of a sudden you pick up 40 points total. Is that better than, an 8th place finish? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, no, it gets tricky. I mean, Kyle Busch is another guy. We'll get to him, but he's right there on the cut line, I guess, for the playoff.
And it's always for the owner, like basically for the team, right? It's much better for the team, for the car to make the playoffs. And I know if it was up to Ty Gibbs, probably he'd only go for the race win, because in these playoffs, you really have a shot at 16th here. Like with your track record here, if you were to get in the playoffs, what are you going to do there? Nothing. I mean, people are already hating on SGG for being in and stuff. He might win 3 races, at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, when you look at a Ty Gibbs, I could certainly see them, team wise, it would be a big boost to get him in, and obviously Grandpa owns the team. But Kyle Busch, being the veteran, a guy who's won a Cup Series, won Cup Series, is a Hall of Famer. I could see him saying, "Listen, F you, I don't really care. I'm trying to win a race." He hasn't won in quite some time, and this is a place that he can win. He's had a lot of success. He's been really good. I know we're dipping down below, to the next level here, but in 2025, his driver rating on road courses is up there with the elite guys. I mean, it's basically SVG, Reddick, Larson, and then Kyle Busch. So you've got to give Kyle Busch some consideration. And like I said, I think, Kyle Busch is the type of guy, I don't think he's really looking to get, I don't think he's worried about points and making it to the playoff. I think he really wants to win races. And it's been a long time since he's been able to do that. So I think starting 17th, I think Kyle Busch becomes a pretty strong play here for me on a road course that I think he'll do well. And I think he's going to be going out to try to win it. Yep. I think you're muted again there. Yeah.
It's the sharing screens that's getting me, man. It really is. We'll go ahead and get into here too, just kind of getting into that 8K range. Kyle Busch starting 17th, going to be a decent click and overall, but let's go ahead and dive down below 9K. Like, what are you doing here? Like with, guys like, let me go ahead and get that out of the way. Start position, salary, and basically everything. The only thing that matters here, start position, salary. Dinger, he's pretty quick here, 8,800. Busher, 8,600. Busher's going to be pretty popular here in this range, but like you don't see any PD plays. And even with Cindric, even with Logano, Suarez, Hocevar, these aren't guys that are just locked to move up 10 spots, right? Like, and especially like Denny Hamlin starting 16th. Like these guys are not starting, they're guaranteed a top 8 finish. That's not the case at all. With Busher, with Dinger, with even Ross Chastain, Alex Bowman, guys who are going to be able to kind of get into the top 5, stay inside the top 10. What do you think about them? And then how do you compare them to the rest of the mid-range here?
Yeah, I mean, Dinger, these are the tracks that you kind of like him at. I mean, and he was the best car in practice. Keep in mind, practices, the splits were, the B group performed a lot better. He was in that B grouping, but yeah, I mean, he was better than SVG in practice, not by much, but he was. So you have to respect Dinger, but starting fifth again, going to be really difficult. I think the guy here in this range, there's two. We talked about Kyle Busch, who I like quite a bit, and then I think Buescher is the other really strong candidate. Starts 14th. You look at Buescher this year, or at Sonoma, he does have the best driver rating at Sonoma in next gen. So starting 14th, I think you've got to definitely consider Buescher if you're single entry building. I think Buescher makes a lot of sense to get into your lineup. So I like both Buescher and Kyle Busch quite a bit in this range. You look at Buescher, look at his last three trips here to Sonoma. I mean, it was a second, a fourth, and then a third last year. So really impressive, and I would expect him to really do well. So those are my two guys here in this range. You've got Chastain at the 8,400, also pretty good driver rating at Sonoma, but starts fourth. I mean, how many of these guys up at the front can we really afford to put in our lineups? They're all going to have to finish well. I think what you're going to wind up seeing here is we've really just got to get with the lack of place differential, it's going to really just be finish position. I think is going to be crucial. We got a couple of guys here, at least on paper. You just never know how these things are going to go. We got Bubba starting at 30th, maybe the best place differential guy out there. But with the lack of place differential, or at least guys starting 30th or worse, quality cars and drivers, it's going to take really strong finishes. Maybe the points are a little lower this week because of it. But how many of these guys do we really want starting in the top 10? I mean, I think that winds up being the question.
Yeah, play stats. It's a finishing position race, right? I wouldn't even treat it like PD. Like I wouldn't be thinking to myself like, oh, Chris Buescher is a great PD play, or Michael McDowell is a great PD play. It's like, look, either way, they're going to have to finish top 7, top 8 to probably be in the winner. Probably maybe top 10 for both. I mean, McDowell 9,300, Buescher 8,600. But it's like if you get 6 cars inside the top 10, you're going to be doing something right. Problem is, where does that last car come in? Could it be a Blaney at 7,500? Could he hold position? Right? Like if you were to give me 40 points from any driver below 8K, I think I would take it. The question is, where's it going to come from? Are you really going to trust Bubba again? Starting 30th? The problem is stats. The answer is probably like kind of, right? If you just look at what he did last year, got like 20th, it's not great, but he is going to have the best, equipment back here. And 20th, is that good enough for Bubba? I mean, what is that, 30-something fantasy points?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be lower. Like I think the scores will wind up being a little lower this week, so maybe it is. I mean, you go back here. I'm just looking back at the history over the last few years. I mean, in 23, the lowest starting position was to make it into an optimal was 22nd. So I think we could be looking. It's potentially something like that. In all three of these years, the years going back 3 years now, we've had 2 drivers start in the top. I should say 2 of the 3. We've had 2 drivers start in the top 10. Last year, the only top 10 driver was Kyle Larson, and McDowell started 12th. He was the next best. So last year was one that we had quite a bit of really good place differential. But the other 2 years, not so much. Nobody who started 30th or worse was able to make it into the optimal. So yeah, I would expect it to probably, and unless it's Bubba, I would expect we probably see something similar. So if you look at the history, I think you can go 2 of these guys starting in the top 10. If you're building 150, I'd probably open that to maybe 3 guys. But if you're single entry building, I would go 1 or 2 of these guys in the top, starting in the top 10. And it looks like, just picking the guys who you really just think will finish strong and not so much worried about the place differential. So, guys outside of the top 10 who are just, look really good in the betting markets and that you think have a shot to at least top 5 this thing, I think is where it's going to be.
Yeah, and Jake, I thought the same thing, right? Like I was thinking that, McDowell, Buescher, you kind of just think, oh yeah, they're PD, right? But it's like man, there isn't any PD on the slate. You just need finishing position only. And it's really interesting. I do like both those guys too. It's going to be a fun slate. And then, yeah, here we got this one too. It's hard to predict the fuel strategy each team is going to play. Wasn't this the race last year where Truex was like locked in to be the optimal until the final turn, and then it was just slightly uphill or something like that, and he just ran out of gas and ended up in like 30th. So yeah, you have that potential too. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. And when I really look at this too, stats, that's a really great stat. Talking about guys who might not be optimal at all past 22nd, past 24th even. Let's go ahead and rank our top three from 6K to 9K, right? Because I want to include like a guy like Gilliland in here. What would be your top three ranks of those guys? And should I even cut out Buescher from this list? We just go 6K to 8,500, do you think?
From 6K, all right, yeah, we can cut those guys and we can make it even harder because I think Buescher is in there. I like Kyle Busch, so I think Kyle Busch makes it in there for me. It's going to be tough. I mean, I understand Bubba, but the thing that drives me nuts here, and if you want to fade Bubba, by all means, go ahead and do it. I don't necessarily think it's the wrong play, but I mean, geez, he starts 30th. It's hard to get off him. But when you look at his driver rating on road courses this season, not very good. His driver rating at Sonoma in the next gen, not very good. His average finish on road courses is 24th this year, and in next gen is like 19th. So, in the next gen cars, I should say next gen road car. So basically, the history in the next gen on the road courses. So you can, 24th that's not getting it done. I don't think here. So you probably need a top 15. He's had one top 15 at Sonoma, and that was back in 21 where he finished 14th. So yeah, it's on paper, it looks really good. I think some people maybe will be a little gun shy with how good the place differential plays last week looked and did not come through for us. So maybe that kind of suppresses ownership a bit on Bubba. But it's when you put him up against this group that you're talking about here from up to the 8,500, 6K basically up to 8,500. He's got to be in the top three, I would think, of those guys. I think then it gets a little trickier with maybe who the next will be. Maybe it's a Gilliland. I don't know. It's that third one is really close for me. I'm curious what do you like those two guys? And then if we go up to basically,
I was going to slightly pivot to Carson Hocevar. If there's someone who has like the ability to get into the top 12. I think Hocevar might top the list here of guys in between this range. Where would it shock you if Hocevar got dumped in this race because it's a very safe place to do that? A lot of people are mad at him, sure. But at the same time, if there was a guy to kind of get top 12 here, just has the talent to do it. 17th here last year too. So it's not like, it's not like he's just never ran here before. You got that, one race to kind of bank on. He gained a lot of experience. And I think he's got the highest upside. I think Suarez has very similar upside. And I think Preece even, has a little bit of upside. And I think this is just dancing around the Bubba, right? Like if I'm going to dance around Bubba's ownership and I'm going to kind of do it with, not that Hocevar is going to be low owned or Suarez is going to be low owned or anything like that. But I do think Bubba comes in a lot higher owned than 12% that Sabre has, because I think it's just a natural click that, oh yeah, we got a driver who's got a quick car and, starting 30th with hardly any PD plays. I think Bubba comes in probably higher owned than these guys, I would think.
Yes.
And sure. So I'm like looking at the ownership there. I'm kind of confused, but I would go Hocevar, Suarez, Preece, and to go with your Kyle Busch one, because I really like the Kyle Busch take that you had.
Yeah, I think Bubba probably comes in. 30 plus. I would imagine. If you talk about,
that's why he's also going to be owned, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So, you look at in this range, let's just kind of look at, let's look at this track history. Who's been good here? We talked about Kyle Busch with being pretty good. Ross Chastain has really good a really good driver rating at Sonoma in the next gen cars, but starts fourth. But his track history here, I mean, he's top 10 every time out, with 5th, 10th, and 2 7th place finishes. Again, though, it's going to take more than that starting fourth, so that's why we'll see the ownership down a bit on him. Just kind of scrolling through, I talked about Kyle Busch, a couple of other guys who have pretty decent driver ratings. Well, a guy who's got more than a decent driver rating is Daniel Suarez here, and he starts 19th. Now he has won at this track, which is definitely inflating his results from Sonoma last that was in 22. Last season he had a 14th, but you'd have to think he's in play a bit at 19th. So I don't think that, definitely not someone I'd want to fade in a Suarez. You mentioned Hocevar in 2025. He's been very good with road courses. Historically, though, Sonoma with the next gen, not all that great. So we can make a case here. I mean, in 2025, his average finish has been 13th on road courses, which is great. And his next gen, his average finish in the next gen cars on road courses is 15th. So that's pretty good. He starts 23rd, and perhaps we could get a top 10 there. So I think I agree with you. I think Hocevar's in play. I think these guys all look pretty good. I mean, the guy that somehow we always manage to not talk about is Joey Logano, and he's got, he's been hit or miss here. He's got a 3rd and a 4th, and it's basically been every other year. So 21 and 23, the 3rd and the 4th, and then 17th and 21st in the even years. But a decent driver rating at Sonoma in the next gen. Not nearly as good as some of those other guys that I highlighted, but starting 22nd, I don't think you could totally punt Logano either out. So there's a lot of guys in this range that I think are going to be in that 20 to 30% owned, and I think they're all viable. And there's no way that in your 150 bills you could keep these guys out.
Yeah, I'm with you here, Stats. It'll be an interesting one, and I don't think I have too much more to add. I think we can go ahead and move on down to the value range, because the Wimbledon final just started. We got Summer League. We have MLB baseball, of course. We got WNBA, and obviously a whole bunch more that are going to be locking here soon. So we'll go ahead and get into the value range here. Stats, we can even go from Gilliland and below, because we didn't really talk about Gilliland, but he finished well here last year, right? But obviously, different circumstance, different situation for him. I think a lot of people are going to click on him because, he got 10th here last year, right? It's just a natural click. He wasn't quick in practice. He doesn't really have a ton of pace on these road courses really at all. I think, prior years, he could kind of copy off Michael McDowell's setup. Is that kind of what it felt like, right? Where it's just on the same team, they were able to kind of get things done. And then now it's just you kind of forget about him on road courses. I did want to make a case for a John Hunter Nemechek or a Zane Smith, because, again, how many people can we really expect to move up? I want your take on Cole Custer, because in Mexico, you were very high on him, and he ended up doing very well. I wanted to see if that would kind of stick. Eric Jones as well. He's going to be pretty popular. Can I make a case for those top 20 guys? Those top 15, is Zane Smith starting too high, or can they hold position? Or in Nemechek's case, can you move up a few spots and be optimal at 6K basically?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll start with Gilliland. His finishes in 2025 have been pretty good on road, for the most part, have been pretty good on road courses. And when you get down to this range, he's probably one of the better options, one of the better driver ratings on road courses, one of the better driver ratings at Sonoma, in particular in the next gen cars. So down, obviously we're kind of swimming with the dregs down here, but I think Gilliland's probably your best option if we're starting with him at the 6,400 and below. I like Custer in Mexico. I thought his practice times were really good. We didn't quite see that. Now, he was in the A group, but even in the A group, not very good in practice. He was getting better as the run went on, but still not one of the stronger practices like we saw in Mexico. His driver rating here is decent. at Sonoma in the next gens. It's actually, for the 6K guys, I think he's the best outside of Austin Dillon. So Dillon has the best driver rating at Sonoma in next gen cars down when we're getting down in this range, and then Custer's right behind him. So definitely not going to punt Custer, but I think I like Austin Dillon a little bit better here, even though his practices were not all that great. But there's no one here that's really standing out that looks unbelievably good. You're going to see the practice times from John Hunter Nemechek and Zane Smith better. They were in that B group, which those practices were pretty were substantially better than the A group. But those guys did. They got worse as the laps went on, as the run went on, and they start way too high for me. Nemechek at 18th and Zane Smith at 12th. So I don't think they're really playable. So down here, I think it's really Austin Dillon and then Ricky Stenhouse I like a little bit as well, starting 34th. So, we're going to be hoping down here, if we're playing some of these guys up at the top, that these are the place differential guys, and we're going to have to find. I just don't think it's going to be attrition. I think we're going to have to find quality drivers. I don't think a Leg makes it. I don't think a Cody Ware makes it. Some of these the lower end drivers, I just don't think. I think it's going to take some skill, and maybe there's always a little bit of luck involved. But I think we got to find good cars, good drivers on these type of tracks. And the guys I highlighted, I think, are the best options for that with the place differential.
Who could be a factor and doesn't really run that great here, but starts 26th? Ty Dillon, right? Like, what if you were to get 20th? Is that good enough at 5K?
At 5K, it's I mean, it always depends on what's going to happen up top, but I think potentially a top 20 could get it done. Hasn't been able to do that yet here. He's got a couple of 23rd finishes, and the driver rating is not very good. But when we're down here, there's quite a bit of luck that's going to be involved. He's not going to be terribly high owned. I don't think any of these guys down here will be outside. And by high, I'm talking about getting into the teens. I think maybe Stenhouse, Dillon, certainly Gilliland will be up there. But the rest of these guys are probably, we're talking single digit owned drivers. And I think this is a week where we probably do get one single digit type, really low owned find its way in there. It could be very well down with the scrubs down on the bottom. It's just not, I'm not getting terribly excited about any of them though.
So Herbst ran really well yesterday. He was even in the winner in the Xfinity lineup. He would have been in the winner no matter what, with Zilish or without him. Herbst starting 28th. He's like the tricky one, right? Because it's not bad equipment, right? I'm going to ask you a question here, right? Riley Herbst, does he finish ahead of Bubba in this race?
Same team.
Yeah.
Does he finish ahead of Bubba? I mean, obviously the odds would say no. If you made a market on that, I wouldn't mind making the bet on Herbst if I got the right price. That's for sure. He's not terrible if you look at his driver rating here in 2025 on road courses, it's not terrible. It's up there, with it's right there with Gilliland. So if you go by that, if you go by driver rating, I mean, obviously you're saving $1,500 to get down to Herbst. I think Herbst is a very interesting choice. Starts 28th. Matty Ice, and I trust Matty Ice. He's pretty sharp. I think he might be onto something. I think we have to definitely keep Herbst in mind here. One of the better, like I said, one of the better driver ratings if you're looking at in 2025 on road courses.
It's kind of like just an interesting thought, right? Because if you're going to spend $6,900 for Bubba, then like you kind of look down below. It's like, will Bubba finish ahead of this guy, right? Like, and I think it's a worthwhile question, right? 23-11. Riley Herbst ran really well yesterday too, but 4,900 kind of opens up the door to a lot of builds. I would not mind doing that at all, and especially when I do love so many studs that it would make sense that I would dumpster dive to a Ty Dillon or Riley Herbst more specifically. And I really like that path. It's a path that I kind of explored a little bit. I clicked Ty Dillon's name down there, but I am more than happy to go with like a Riley Herbst style. As Alcaraz got broke. Oh no. But let's go ahead and get into our drivers of the day. Then we'll kind of let loose and go watch some tennis, go watch some baseball, and whatever else pleases your eye. You can also watch the WNBA later at 1 o'clock and then 2 games at 6. All right, so stats. Who is your low-owned driver of the day here on this slate here at Sonoma?
All right, I'm gonna ask you to bring it up there and sort it. Let's see.
All right,
like an idiot.
Lots of guys above 20%. Not like last week there, where I think we had 6 or 7 guys. That was it. This time we
No, we'll have lots of options.
Whoa, the SGG ownership. Oh my god.
Oh, they haven't made 80. Is that 83? They haven't owned in.
I think adjusted. There it is. All right, we'll use adjusted ownership this time.
All right, go ahead. Scroll down for me. Let me see.
All right, your pick of the litter. Stenhouse will not be 19%.
Well, they've got leg at 10%, huh? 11%. I don't know if that's gonna fly.
No shot.
I mean, yeah, taking Bubba would be cheating because he's going to be like 30%.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do that. All right, scroll down. What else do we have down here?
We got a lot of guys in the single-digit range. I think you might like Cole. You got Cole Custer, Ty Gibbs, Riley Herbst, Josh Berry, Keselowski. Yeah. I mean,
I think Reddick's probably the play here, low own. I mean, he's not going to be. He won't be that low as they're saying, but I don't think he's going to be 20% either. So I'll go with a Reddick as my low owned driver of the day. I think certainly a guy who can win this race.
I like it. Jake knew where I was going. I was going with Ty Gibbs.
I thought about it.
Yeah, you did it last week. You can't have
I did.
Weeks. He's been driver of the day too many times lately. It's because we believe. Damn it. I'm going with Ty Gibbs here, starting 5th. Starting 6th. I think he is capable of getting a top 3. I think his performances on road course have been really well. And last week he ran pretty well. And I just come back to the fact that I could see him sitting in the top 3, kind of making a move late where it's like, man, he's going to be optimal for sure. I really like pairing him with SVG because I do think he's going to come in really low owned. It's just a matter of can he outscore, McDowell, Larson, and Chase Elliott. He's got to outscore 2 of those 3. A top 3 finish would do that. Doesn't offer the same PD as them, but that's also why he's going to be way under 20%. I think 10% might be the field on Ty Gibbs today, and I really like that. And if you're just doing like a single entry lineup and stuff, yeah, it's easier to navigate, with a little bit of PD boost with Larson, Elliott, McDowell. But I'll take my chance on finishing position with Ty Gibbs here. Anything else that you want to add, Stats?
That's it, man. Let's we got a lot to dive into, like you said. So let's run Pure Sports. If you're not a subscriber already, this would be a good time to do so, especially with the, if you're playing MLB, we got the All-Star break coming up. Get yourself familiarized during the break with some of the tools and get in our Discord and chat with the guys. And maybe you could turn $300 into a 64,000 win as well.
Ooh, 63,600. Freddie taking it home and shouting you out in the Discord too. I mean, he just shouted you out. He said, thank you, to always use the Boom Report and everything. It was like a true, just like a whole glaze session there, Stats. That must have felt good waking up to that at 8:48 in the morning.
It does feel good. Listen, this is the reason we do it. That and trying to win for ourselves as well. But no, it does make me feel good when someone utilizes the tools that you develop and work so hard on. So we're happy to see it.
Again, it's not just up a couple times a week. No, it's up 7 days a week. Stats does a great job with the Boom rating. A lot of people use it. It's a great thing for MLB baseball, especially when we're kind of coming up into a lull area. We probably already are in that lull area of sports. Preseason football starts in 3 weeks. I know that you're thrilled about that, Stats, but we are going to be kind of just a baseball mode for the next 6 weeks or so. So it should be a good time. Again, code RPS15, 15% off your first month here at Run Pure Sports. Have a great rest of y'all's day, and bye-bye.